Good evening. We want to welcome you to our lectures this evening. How to boost your emotional intelligence. I'm Lillian Balbach. I'm a health educator and a registered dietitian. And I attend every year the Emotional Intelligence Summit, which is given by Dr. Neil Nedley in Northern California. And we have given the first part of this lecture in January, but I see a lot of new faces. So we have a choice. We can go through the lecture again and do the whole thing, part 1 and 2, briefly, or we can just do part 2. How many of you were here for the first part of this lecture? Raise your hand, please. Just 2 people. Wow, okay. Well, that makes it easy. Then we will begin with this. From the beginning, I'm so glad you could come here and you could do something to improve your emotional intelligence. We all need that, a refresher course. Have you ever thought, why am I so worried? Why do I get so angry? Why do I feel depressed? Then you find the cause. It's my husband. He makes me feel bad. Or my boss, he makes me feel angry. I'm depressed because the brother at my church doesn't agree with me. These statements are all untrue. As long as we live on this earth, there will be people that we live with and work with who are not perfect, and neither are we. So we need to learn to start thinking truthful thoughts about our life and about others. You know that our health is affected by the way we think. Our thoughts affect our health in a positive or negative way. And how does that work? We have a communication system going on between the limbic system, which is our emotional brain, and the rational brain, our frontal lobe. And this pathway starts at the spinal cord. This is where our primary senses enter, and they travel to the front of our brain before we can rationally think. That's why we start feeling in the limbic system about a certain situation before we start thinking rationally in the frontal part of our brain. And so this balance between the rational and emotional brain is what makes our emotional intelligence. Did you realize that every time you have a thought, your brain releases chemicals? An electrical transmission goes across your brain and you become aware of what you're thinking. So either we're thinking positive thoughts or negative thoughts. When we have negative thoughts, like when we're angry or upset, the hormones such as adrenaline, norepinephrine, or cortisol are released. And what happens to us? What happens to you when you're angry, or to myself? Our muscles tense up, our heart beats faster, our hands start to sweat, and our body reacts to the negative way that we are feeling on the inside. Yet, on the other hand, when we have positive thoughts, happy thoughts, uplifting thoughts, our hormones, endorphins, serotonin and dopamine are released. And these type of hormones give us the good feelings in our body. Think of the last time you had a good thought, or the feelings you had when you cuddled a baby, or when you went on a nice picnic with your family. How did you feel? You were relaxed, your muscles were relaxed, you had heartbeat that's normal, your breathing was slow, and everything was going just fine. So, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is knowing our emotions, identifying what we are feeling, and managing our emotions, instead of allowing ourselves to be managed by them. Emotional intelligence is thinking truthful thoughts. It is achieving goals, and it is recognizing the emotions in other people. Have you met people who feel good about their lives and who have control of their emotions, who are trustworthy, honest, conscientious, dependable, flexible, who have empathy, who are thankful, and who know just how to balance work and their personal life in a special way? All of us have met people like that. The question is, are you one of them? And if you're not, are you thinking, I sure would like to have all those qualities, but I'm too far from this kind of being this type of a person? The good news is that emotional intelligence is learned rather than inherited, so it can be improved. So all of us can learn to think good, emotionally intelligent thoughts. What are some other things that influence our emotional intelligence? Our genes, our childhood experiences, our current emotional support, the physical conditions. Are we getting enough sleep? Are we eating a healthy diet? Are we sick? Those things can affect us in a negative way if we're not getting optimal nutrition and sleep. Does nutrition have anything to do with the way we manage our emotions? Well, a very interesting, I shouldn't say happening, happened in the prison system in Southern California. This was in the Victor Valley prisons in Southern California. They had men who were put either on a regular American diet or they were given a choice to go on a plant-based vegetarian diet. And the people in the prison system thought no one will want to follow a vegetarian diet, but the prisoners said, about 97% of them decided, you know what, we're in prison, we're stuck here, we might as well try something different. So they followed this vegetarian diet, and they also gave them a Bible study along with this. And they found out something very interesting, that the people who followed the vegetarian diet, when they were outside in the yard, in the prison, playing basketball or working, they all got along together very well. The blacks, the whites, the Hispanics, the gang members, they were all one group. They also witnessed improved stress control. They had greater energy. They had less acne, and they had only a 2% of recidivism, which is where they're rearrested, versus the rest of the California prison. 95% of the prisoners who were in prison were rearrested, but those who followed the plant-based diet, only 2% were rearrested. So this is what some of the inmates said. They said, if I was on a regular American diet, when I would be tempted to kill a person. But since I'm on this vegetarian diet, I feel very good. I don't have angry emotions in me. So a diet definitely affects our emotions and how we feel. There's not so much anger, there's not so much negativity, and this was proven in this prison in Southern California. The scripture says, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he, in Proverbs 23:7. So the way we think is how we are. Our thoughts plus our feelings combined make up our character. What would you do if you were beaten up and you were bleeding and you were bruised and you were put into a prison and chained and with your feet in stocks? Would you be upset? Would you be angry, crying uncontrollably? This is what happened to Paul and Silas in the scriptures. They had positive thoughts. They were singing and praising God. Why? Because they believed that this was not the end of their life, that some good things will happen to them. They had positive thoughts. So what are the ABCs of changing our thoughts? Here we have an activating event. That would be something like losing a job. B is a belief. We can have an irrational belief or a rational belief about losing a job. What would be an irrational belief about losing a job? I lost my job. No one will hire me. Is that a true belief? No, it's not. There's someone out there who's going to hire me. So if I believe that someone will hire me, I'm going not to be upset. I know things will be hopeful in the future. But if I say, I lost a job, no one will hire me, how am I going to feel? Depressed, hopeless. There's no hope for me in the future. So we want to correct this crooked type of thinking so we can believe straight thoughts. Now, you come and look with me at these expressions, these sentences. Is this straight or crooked thinking? He hurt my feelings by saying, I don't know how to cook. Is that a true statement? Pardon me? It is. Okay. I could also say, you know what? That's his opinion. I can improve my cooking, that's true, but I won't let this bother me. Right? That's the way to think of it. Because if I say, you know what? My feelings are so hurt, I feel so terrible, I will be so discouraged, I will not want to improve my cooking. But if I say things in a positive way, in a truthful way, I have a better chance of improving in the future. What about my boss really made me angry, and the more I thought about what he said, the more upset I became. Is that true? Does anyone have the power to make me angry? No. The boss has no control over my emotions. I have control over my emotions and how I respond to him. Getting locked out of my house this morning made me feel like a fool. Now I have done plenty of these lockouts from my house. And, you know, I wasted a lot of time. That's what was upsetting. But I learned how to hide a key. My neighbor had to tell me this, like I didn't know, right? Because I went to her several times. How to hide a key and how to get back in. And how to be careful and slow. I really put myself in a bad mood after meeting my wife at the mall. This is the husband speaking. Is that true? Yes, it is true. He's saying a true statement. He didn't say my wife put me in a bad mood, but I put myself in a bad mood by meeting her at the mall. Let's look at 10 ways to change our irrational thinking. This was a quiz I was going to give you, which we will not, since we didn't do part 1. All or nothing thinking. These type of people simplify the world by putting everything into 2 extremes. It's either black or white, magnificent or awful. We want to correct this kind of thinking, and you help me. I'm a total failure. That is not a true statement. What can you tell yourself that is true? Give me some ideas. Yes?
One thing or a couple things that you do well.
Excellent. There are some things that I do well, that I'm pretty good at. Okay? I'm too out of shape for this exercise program. I guess I'm going to give up. How many of you have said that? You know, I kind of said, I sometimes say something similar it's too cold out there to go for a walk. But then I say, I'll just go down to the bottom of my hill. And before you know it, I get to the bottom of the hill and I feel good and energized and I go and walk the 2 miles. So we are never too out of shape to do anything. I can work up to this exercise routine until I'm able to do the whole 30-minute session. Correct? All right. Now this is for moms. My son always forgets to take out the trash. What could you tell him or to yourself? My son often forgets to take the trash, but I love how he remembers to wash my car on Fridays or to bring me flowers on Fridays. That's what my sons do, which makes up for some of the things they don't do. Overgeneralizing is concluding that since something bad happened to me once, it's going to happen to me again and again for the rest of my life. We want to watch out for words always and never. These type of people, they generalize from too few instances. Here is a man, and you know, good people, people who are Christians, people who are successful people, they often have problems with speaking untruthful statements to themselves. This man said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, and even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Who was this? The prophet Elijah in the Bible, after he had a very successful day on the top of the mountain, killing the prophets of Baal, but here he felt hopeless, running away for his life. So even the greatest people, in times of trouble and trial, they have irrational thinking. So we have to catch ourselves. Overgeneralization. Here's some more examples. Every time I drive, my heart starts to race. I'm going to die from a heart attack behind the wheel, just like my dad. Well, when your heart starts to race, it's because you're having anxiety. So probably this person is having an anxiety attack, not a heart attack. And a good thing to do is to get out of the car, take a few deep breaths, and go back and continue driving. Here's another one. You never make my bed. Make your bed. What could you say? How could you say this in a truthful way? It seems like you never make your bed, right? I'm going to fail the final exam, then I'll never graduate or get a good job, and my life will be ruined. Mental filter, number 3. People focus on one negative detail or situation instead of looking at the whole picture. People like this look through life through binoculars. If your binoculars are flipped around, smudged, or broken, your view of life will be skewed. Here is Steve. Steve was looking through a mental filter. He said, my job is terrible. My wife is impatient. Our roof is leaking. The boss yells at me. I'm short and fat, and I'm losing my hair. There is nothing good in my life. Is that true? No. Let me tell you all the good things that he has. I enjoy my children. My wife is very attractive. I sleep well. What a blessing that you sleep well. How many people can sleep, or how many people have to have a CPAP machine because they have sleep apnea? I can feed myself. I can breathe without difficulty. How many people have to have an oxygen tank walking beside them, right? I can walk. I enjoy going to church. Number 5, mind reading. A friend passes you on the street and fails to say hello because he doesn't notice you. And so what do you say? He is ignoring me, so he doesn't like me. What is that? That's jumping to conclusions. That's reading his mind. You don't know why. Maybe he didn't see you. Maybe he's talking to his friend here, or some other situation. Or you know how sometimes you see two people talking, let's say you're in your office at the job, and you pass them by, and you're thinking, they're talking about me. That's mind reading. Number 6 is the fortune teller error. This person concludes that his or her predictions are 100% accurate, regardless of the probability that they might actually occur. I know he won't do it because he will think it's too hard. Please say you're my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that I may live because of you. Who was this person who told his wife, this is also from the Bible, he told his wife that to tell the king that she was his sister, because he was afraid the king will take her for his wife. She was a beautiful woman. Who was this? Abraham, that's right. These type of people have a doom and gloom mentality, a pessimistic outlook on life, which causes anxiety. This kind of thinking causes anxiety, excessive worry, panic attacks. Number 7, magnifying or minimizing. People who have this problem feel entitled to a life that is fair, comfortable, and interesting. They have low frustration tolerance. People like this will say, I can't stand this. I can't stand waiting in line for 1 hour. This person said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? This was a king in the Bible. He was magnifying all the wonderful things he has accomplished. Which king was that, and which kingdom did he rule? Who remembers? How about you, young people? Do you remember? Nebuchadnezzar, that's right. And I will exalt myself against the Most High. Who said that? This was Lucifer. Let me tell you the story of Kim. Kim had rehearsed a speech for her sister's wedding. When it came to make her toast, Kim blundered a couple of words. She quickly regained control and ended up giving a moving and heartfelt toast. Many people complimented her on her speech, but she continued complaining, I'm so embarrassed by my slip-ups. I ruined this special occasion. Kim is magnifying her mistakes and minimizing her accomplishment. What should she have thought? If you were Kim, what would be the right way to think? Give me some ideas. You've got to talk to yourself. It's this silent self-talk that makes us emotionally intelligent if we tell ourselves the truth, or emotionally not intelligent if we don't tell ourselves the truth. She should have told herself, most people enjoyed my speech and did not even notice the small imperfections. Is that true? That's right. Now, Dr. Neil Nedley, who does a lot of work with emotional intelligence, tells the story that he was playing baseball with his sons, and suddenly, and their friends, and suddenly they had such a terrible argument they couldn't play anymore. They were ready to fight. So he stopped them, let them cool off, like 45 minutes. And he made up this little song for them. And this is a good little song to sing to yourself, or a little verse to say. It goes like this: I don't like it, I don't like it, it's okay, I can stand it anyway, I can stand it anyway, it's all right, it's all right. And so, after they totally cooled off, they sang this song a few times, they were able to go back and finish their game. Now, I had an interesting experience. I was giving this lecture in Europe, in Serbia, and after I met this young lady who wanted to walk with me every morning, for my morning walk and talk with me. So after the lecture, the next morning, she says, I'll meet you at 6 o'clock, we'll go for a walk. So we went for a walk. And she's telling me the story. Her father has a very explosive, angry personality, and he attended this lecture with them, with the mom and her, and he was doing fine, but then suddenly as they're walking home after the lecture, he starts getting angry and using all these words, and then he suddenly says to the family, this is not right, I have to stop, this is not emotionally intelligent. And so he stopped, and he apologized, and he stopped his angry talk and angry feelings. So this works. These methods work of changing the way we think. And this girl was so excited. She didn't speak English, but she was having me sing this song with her until she had it memorized, because she was singing to herself and to her dad when he would get upset. And she had emotional problems. At one time, she was suicidal. So it really works with people. So let us rephrase some of these maximizing words. Okay? I don't know. Oh, okay. I must. Instead of saying I must, what do we say? I would like to. I mustn't. I would prefer not to. I should. I wish I could. I shouldn't. I would rather not. I can't stand this. This is difficult. I'm worthless. I'm worthwhile. You always do this. It seems you always do this. So we're taking out these very strong words, like horrible. Instead of saying horrible, what could we say? Help me. What's a more positive way of saying horrible? Bad or inconvenient? Terrible. It's a hassle. Awful. It's unpleasant. Number 8 are people who have emotional reasoning. People engaged in emotional reasoning take their emotions as evidence that whatever they feel is really the way things are. I feel overwhelmed and helpless, so my problems are impossible to solve. I don't feel like changing anything in my life, so I won't. This is emotional reasoning. And here's another little song. Feelings come and feelings go. Feelings are deceiving. Trust thou on the word of God, for it is worth believing. Thomas Jefferson said, there is nothing that gives one person so much advantage over another as to remain cool and unruffled under all circumstances. So we want to practice being cool and unruffled under all circumstances. Mislabeling is number 9. Labeling yourself as a failure when you make the smallest mistake, or calling yourselves names, or calling someone else ugly names. This is not the way to go. We don't want to mislabel. Labels are weapons of character destruction. How to speak the truth. Again, I need your help. You're such a messy person. What would be a better way of saying this? Jack, you have any idea?
I was thinking you could be much neater.
Excellent. You could be much neater. Very good. Saying it in the positive, okay? It's important to keep your room clean and tidy. You're so selfish. Okay, another thought, idea. Please give me one.
You need to learn how to share.
Okay. Generosity is a trait to be cultivated. You klutz. Okay, another one. Give me an idea. Linda, you're smiling. Huh? Could you be a little more careful? You're such a big baby. I'll be glad when you act more maturely, or when you grow up, right? 10, personalization, blaming yourself 100% for bad outcomes because you might have had some small role to play in it. Did anyone ever do this? Sure, some of us. We all are a little guilty here or there, right? I'm a failure as a parent. Your child comes home with a D on his report card and you say, I'm a failure as a parent. Are you really a failure because you got a D? Of course not. I can't believe they did this to me. The boss gave that lecture just for me. Really? That is not true. We don't want to read the boss's thoughts. Abraham Lincoln said, determine that the thing can and shall be done, and then we shall find the way. So we can find the way to speak truthful sentences, to think truthful thoughts. We can turn setbacks into victories, find the lesson, apply it, and move on, then look back on defeat and smile. Our example, how did Jesus act when he was criticized or opposed? He was never elated by applause or dejected or discouraged by censure or disappointment. Amid the greatest opposition and the most cruel treatment, he was still of good courage. So if we tell ourselves the truth, no matter what people are doing to us, whether they're upsetting us with their words or they're doing things to hurt us in any other way, if we're speaking those truthful thoughts in our inner recesses of our mind, we will not be disturbed. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. So steps for right thinking. Number 1, analyze your thoughts. Look for crooked thoughts. Look, the sentence I just said, was that a truthful sentence? Or was that a crooked, untruthful sentence? And then reconstruct your thoughts like we were doing. Say the same sentence in a truthful way and practice, practice, practice. And it's really fun when you do this as a family. If everyone learns to do this, then you help each other. Your children may catch you, or your spouse catches you, and you help each other to think and speak truthful thoughts. Here is a good challenge for us. What kind of thoughts to think? You know, there's so many distractions in the world. There are many negative things. There are things that worry us and upset us. And we can dwell on those things, or we can choose to dwell on the positive. And in Philippians 4:8, it says, finally, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely and of a good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. Now let me ask you a question. What would you rather have if you had a choice? To have a highly educated and talented mind or a well-disciplined mind? Let's take a vote. How many of you would like to have a very talented and educated mind? No one? I shouldn't have shown you this quote here. No one. How many of you like to have a well-disciplined mind? Okay, great. An ordinary mind, well-disciplined, will accomplish more and higher work than will the most highly educated mind and the greatest talents without self-control. So it's self-control in our thoughts. That's what we're talking about. Positive thoughts that are lovely, that are kind, that are pure, that are good. And where can we find subject material to keep our thoughts pure and focused? In John 8:32 says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You know, the place to find the truth is in reading the scriptures. I know that when I read the scriptures, my thoughts line up and they're pure and they're true, and I have self-control and I know how to think and how to act and how to be. And it's interesting, they have found that reading the book of Proverbs, which has a lot of proverbs, is a good way to teach your thinking and your thoughts to be truthful. Now, neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to grow and change. As we use these strategies of emotional intelligence, what happens is billions of microscopic neurons in the brains are lining the road between our emotional intelligence and our rational intelligence. And what happens is they branch off into small arms, and there's like 15,000 connections between one nerve cell and another. And so the brain is growing, it's changing, it is becoming easier and faster for us to think these thoughts that are pure and that are true. I have a 14-day challenge for you to improve your thoughts. Decide to say nothing negative or critical about any person for 14 days consecutively. Not even constructive criticism. Speak to others in positive, neutral words. If you slip up on any day during the 2 weeks, you have to begin counting again until you can achieve 14 consecutive days. Now, you know what will happen? You're going to be slipping up, and we're going to start again and again, but eventually the brain will get used to it, and you'll start catching yourself until the thoughts you think are more positive, and they become habits. So it is possible. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Are there any questions? Thank you very, very much. And I would like to tell you that sometime in the summer, we would like to offer this course. It's called Optimizing Your Brain. And Dr. Neil Nedley, he has a program. It's 4 consecutive lectures and a workshop where we have a lecture, and then after that we have a group where we discuss some of these things and learn more how to improve our thinking and also how to change our diet, because there are specific foods, as I mentioned to you, that are very helpful to improve our emotional intelligence. Thank you very much.